Some stories are told to scare you. This one is told because it happened. No jump scares. No exaggeration. No monsters hiding in the dark. Just real events, real places, and real people who were never supposed to vanish. You're listening to Nocturnal Narratives. Stay with this story. It doesn't end the way you expect. People assume that when someone disappears, something dramatic must have happened. A scream, a struggle, a moment someone could point to later and say, "That's when it went wrong." That's rarely how it happens. Most disappearances begin quietly, inside routines that look harmless from the outside. This one began with a trip that was planned carefully enough to feel safe. Her name was Amara Okiki. She was 29 years old. She worked remotely, traveled alone often, and kept detailed itineraries shared with 2 people back home. Nothing about her profile suggested risk. She arrived in the country early in the morning. Immigration records confirmed the time. Her passport was stamped. Her luggage was scanned. Nothing unusual was noted. She spent the first few hours doing normal things. Withdrew cash, bought a local SIM card, drank coffee in a crowded cafe near the terminal. Security cameras captured her laughing at her phone while waiting for a message to send. At 11:42 a.m., she ordered transport to a regional bus station on the edge of the city, not the main terminal. A smaller one that appeared cheaper, faster, and less crowded. The ride there was uneventful. The driver dropped her off, helped unload her bag, and drove away. This is where the story begins to thin. The station itself was functional but outdated. Concrete floors, old signage, flickering electronic boards that didn't sync properly with online schedules. It still operated, buses still arrived and departed, but it was no longer officially maintained. That detail wouldn't surface until much later. Amara sat on a metal bench near Platform 3. She sent a message to her sister. "I'm here. Everything looks normal." The timestamp on that message is the last confirmed digital activity from her phone. Witnesses later described the station as quiet but not empty. Several travelers, a vendor, a security guard who worked limited hours. No one remembered anything unusual. That's another pattern investigators see often. Environments where nothing stands out enough to be remembered clearly. At some point after noon, the display board showed a delay on her route. No explanation, no updated departure time. She waited. During that wait, a man sat down near her. This detail comes from a later statement by another passenger who remembered the seating arrangement. The man appeared ordinary. Backpack, clean clothes. No visible signs of distress or urgency. He spoke to her briefly. No one heard what was said. When the bus finally arrived, it didn't match the listing on the booking site. Different company name, different color scheme. Still, the route number matched. Passengers boarded without hesitation. Investigators later confirmed that this bus was not registered under the company name displayed on its exterior. That discrepancy would become central to the case. Inside the bus, conditions were noticeably different from standard regional transport. Curtains drawn, windows heavily tinted. No visible safety signage. Passengers took seats quietly. Amara sat near the middle aisle. The man from the station sat several rows ahead. As the bus departed, a cellular signal dropped entirely. That alone wouldn't have raised concern. Many rural routes lose coverage quickly. But what followed was not consistent with the mapped journey. The bus did not stop where it should have. No announcements were made. No tickets were checked. An hour passed. Then another. No passengers boarded. None disembarked. This detail comes from the driver COS log, a document that was later recovered but never fully verified. At some point, Amara stood and walked toward the front of the bus. A passenger seated nearby later recalled her asking a question. "How long until the next stop?" The driver didn't turn around. He said one word, "Soon." That was the last recorded interaction involving her. What happened next is reconstructed from fragments. Partial footage, Inconsistent witness statements, gaps that were never filled. The bus was later found abandoned along a service road more than 50 kilometers off the documented route. No passengers were inside. No luggage except one bag in the overhead compartment. Amara's bag. Everything else, her phone, her documents, her presence, stopped there. No signs of violence were found. No evidence of a struggle. No clear indication of when she left the bus or whether she left willingly. And this is where investigators encountered the most unsettling part of the case. The station she boarded from did not officially exist in transit records at the time of her disappearance. It had been removed months earlier due to administrative restructuring. Yet buses continued to operate from it, unofficially, without oversight, without accountability, and without a clear record of who controlled the routes. When authorities recovered the bus, it took nearly 12 hours before anyone connected it to Amara's disappearance. At first, it was treated as an abandoned vehicle. No damage, no forced entry, no obvious crime scene. It was parked along a narrow service road that didn't appear on most navigation apps. A road typically used by maintenance crews and delivery trucks, not passenger buses. The keys were still in the ignition. Inside, everything felt paused rather than disturbed. Seats were upright, curtains still drawn, no broken glass, no overturned bags. Only one piece of luggage remained. Amara's bag was found in the overhead compartment above seat 14C. Her clothes were neatly folded inside. Her passport was missing. Her phone was missing. That detail mattered. In cases where someone leaves voluntarily, investigators often find phones behind. In cases involving coercion, phones are almost always taken, but nothing else suggested force. No fingerprints out of place, no blood, no signs of restraint. It was as if she had stepped off the bus calmly and vanished. Passenger lists should have clarified who was on board. They didn't. The bus company listed on the exterior denied ownership. So did the company listed on the booking platform. After 2 days of inquiries, investigators determined the bus had been subcontracted through a chain of intermediaries, none of which kept complete records. Each company pointed to another. This wasn't illegal. It was simply unregulated. The driver's identity took longer. The name provided on the route paperwork belonged to a man who had died 3 years earlier. That discovery forced the case into a different category. Investigators returned to the station where Amara boarded. By then, it looked unchanged. Same benches, same flickering display board. But something felt wrong. Security cameras were present, but non-functional. Power ran to them, but no data was being stored. The security guard who worked mornings hadn't been scheduled that day. The vendor selling coffee couldn't remember faces. No ticket stubs were found. No clear footage existed of the bus arriving or departing. It was as if the station existed in a blind spot. When investigators searched transit records, they found something unsettling. The station had been officially decommissioned 6 months earlier, removed from digital maps, removed from central scheduling, removed from safety oversight. Yet buses continued to stop there. Unofficial routes, unofficial drivers, unofficial passengers, all operating without centralized monitoring. That detail reframed the disappearance. This wasn't about one woman making a bad decision. It was about a system that allowed people to pass through untracked spaces, quietly. As the investigation widened, similar cases began to surface. Not identical, but close enough to raise concern. Solo travelers, regional transport, secondary stations. In each case, the trail went cold shortly after departure. One investigator described it later as disappearances that occur between systems. Not urban enough to be monitored, not remote enough to trigger alarms, just ordinary routes in between. Amara's family was informed of these findings in stages. At first, they were told the case was active, then that it was complex, then that resources were limited. They pushed for answers. Her sister traveled to the city to speak with officials directly. She visited the station. She sat on the same bench. She noticed something that hadn't been documented. A small sign taped near platform 3. It wasn't official, just a printed sheet of paper, slightly torn, barely legible. It listed 3 departure times. None matched the official schedule. At the bottom, in small letters, were the words, "Route subject to change." That sign disappeared the next day. Investigators never photographed it. The case stalled publicly after 6 weeks. No suspects named, no arrests made, no confirmed sightings. Privately, it remained open. But leads grew thinner. Months later, a phone was recovered near a rural border checkpoint. The device was damaged but identifiable. It belonged to Amara. There were no outgoing calls, no messages sent after the station. But one detail stood out. Her phone had connected briefly to a cellular tower hours after the bus was abandoned. Not near the service road. Far from it. In a direction the bus should never have traveled. That signal lasted less than 30 seconds. Then it disappeared forever.